Hello, what's going on GameLeap? It is of course the Cheese back at it, and in this video you will find out the 15 champions affected most by the massive buffs and nerfs thus far in 11.5, because with each patch guys there are a bunch of changes that influence the league meta, so to know which champions you should or shouldn't keep playing for the rest of this patch, stick around for the next 10 minutes or so. The Cheese is going to be giving you all the information you need and breaking down in detail the impact of the 11.5 notes. Now before we get into it guys, GameLeap.com, our site is the hottest on the market. Ooh, so if you want to take your game to the next level with exclusive help from the Cheese and heaps of other challenger level players and coaches, then don't waste any time and click on one of the links in the description and comment section. I think I just popped a blood vessel. Alright, let's get into it Leapers, and starting off the countdown as a champion the Cheese has mentioned a lot recently because she has been buffed 3 times in Season 11. And in 11.5, KOG'MAW has improved again, with her win rate increasing by 1.5% to 49% overall. So certainly not the best win rate, but for sure more winnable on. So this patch guys, Riot decreased your Q's cooldown, and despite them specifically mentioning support KOG'MAW, well the Cheese knows most of you out there prefer solo lane KOG'MAW, and this buff helps that out. In fact, in high elo, so Master and above, the best KOG'MAW players have a 63% win rate in the top lane and over a 52%er in the mid lane. Think about this meta as well guys, with UDYR, SENNA and Hecarim running Riot, and then you have bruisers back on the menu in the top lane, or more of them on the menu, so your ability as KOG'MAW to empower your teammates with endless spells with that infamous Moonstaff build is incredibly valuable. And that's also important to mention. Once you get to your Moonstone and your Staff of Flowing Water core, that's all you need guys. So you can let your ADC or your jungler or your top laner farm waves because you're already as useful as you will ever be. Now this does of course mean you have to trust your teammates a little bit more, but most of the time they will carry harder because you are there to enhance their carry potential. Now it will be harder to make work in the mid lane and in general this patch just because Serpent's Fang got buffed, so your shields are less effective as you can see, which means AD assassins can kind of cuck you. But in the top lane, which champions build the Fang? Barely any, right? If any. So if you are playing support KOG'MAW, it is time to mix it up guys and get into that top lane or mid lane if it's not an AD assassin on the other team. Now just ahead of KOG'MAW, we have a champion whose win rate has gone down 1.5% since 11.5 dropped, and how is this possible? Because this champion didn't get any buffs or nerfs. Well the Cheese will tell you how. Stop playing ZIGGS mid. So as we just outlined guys, the buff to Serpent's Fang, yes, AD assassins are stronger, and typically, especially in lower elos, the Zeds and Talons or the Rift can really put you in the dirt as ZIGGS. Also in that mid lane, you are closer to the top lane, so Stridebreaker abusers like Darius, Garen, Gnar have closer access to you. So in the bot lane, you are a lot safer, and having a teammate give you the peel that you lack is super useful. Yeah, your W is kind of useful, but you can be caught mid-air like Tristana and a rocket jump pretty easily. Now most of you ZIGGS players are building Luden's Tempest and maybe Horizon Focus after that, or Zhonya's or Deathcap. Stop. It is time from this video henceforth to build a Liandry's Anguish and a Seraph's Embrace. Now yes, you might be able to one-shot a squishy as ZIGGS with a full combo, but against players with their monitors turned on, it's near impossible to hit all your spells unless they are hard CC'd. So the number of spells you throw out is more impactful than the actual power of these spells, but it's not like you're dealing no damage. The burn from Liandry's hurts, and once you get Seraphs, your bombs start bombing the enemy team. Just make sure to play ZIGGS in the bot lane guys and you'll be sweet. Now this next champion honestly was one of the most broken in recent league because of how she interacted with one item in particular. So how many of you abused Ginsu's SENNA in the last few patches? If you did, no shame, because the LP was there for the taking. Well, in 11.5, Riot nerfed the on-hit SENNA build, thus making it less effective. As a result, SENNA's win rate has gone down 1.6% to just 48% overall. It's still the most popular build, you know, building Kraken Slayer and then Ginsu's Rageblade, but even in high elo, this has put SENNA completely out of play. A 45% win rate is very underwhelming to say the least. Now the big issue here is that SENNA is a scaling champion, so as you acquire more myth rays and items, you should be dealing more and more damage, but the critical strike cap and less on-hit damage take away some of this late game power. So in the big picture, your item spikes are not what they used to be, and now pale in comparison to Jin's item spikes or Vayne's item spikes. It's now very hard to make work in that bot lane. Now unlike SENNA guys, one bot laner that you can make work more so this patch than in others is because this creature got buffed. Why did they get buffed? Because B-More is now in the shop. Okay, but seriously guys, KOG'MAW wasn't really doing anything as an AD carry, so the 11.5 buff to your W's damage at later ranks is a warranted one, and as a scaling champion this is great. Also the fact you max your W first gives you a better mid game too, but you are probably still going to die more than 10 times a game, and there isn't enough peel in the game or in your kit to stop this from happening. For example, what are you meant to do on the puke thrower if a Zed ults you, or a Garen charges at you with a Stridebreaker, or a Diana flashes in and ults you? The Cheese will tell you nothing. There are just too many doom situations for KOG in this meta, and though his overall win rate has increased by over 1.5% to close to 50%, in high elo, 42%. So you can still carry gains because your damage output is insane, but you need a little help in doing so, and in solo queue does help even exist? Now this next champion doesn't need that kind of help, especially after this patch because he got buffed. So for all you Jax players out there, your win rate has improved a similar amount to the others, and your overall win rate is close to 50%. But, and the Cheese hates bringing bad news into the equation, this buff, which increased your base damage growth, isn't than enough to help you compete with, you guessed it, those Strikebreaker champions. You've also got Fiora in the mix too, who is currently very strong, and Riven as well with a E up every 3 seconds. Now maybe there is a silver lining with the Black Cleaver buff, so it now costs 200 less gold and gives you movement speed now, which is no doubt good for Jax. But if it's available for Jax, then it's available for Darius, for Urgot. So Jax is better of course, but in the scheme of things, is this going to give you the power to fight it out with the best top laners at the moment? Most likely not. Now we're into the top 10 guys, and if you're excited for these next 10 champions, let the cheese and KOG'MAW be smashing that like button. And yeah, number 10 is a champion who got nerfed pretty hard this patch, and her win rate as a result has gone down almost 2% to 50% overall. So for those support players out there guys, Rel is not as strong this time around, which sucks because she was easily one of the best picks for that insane engage. So Riot reduced your base armor, so taking harass in lane is more legit. You know, you have to put a bit of respect on it. And they also increased both of your W cooldowns, which makes those committed engages, well, they carry more risk because of the armor nerf, and you can't pull these off as often. But the actual CC and the setup is all still there, so no reason to go crazy over these nerfs. Rel is still solid. Now coming in at number 9 guys, one champion who has surprisingly fallen off this patch is a mid laner who didn't get directly buffed or nerfed. So like the ZIGGS situation, how could AURELION Sol's win rate go down almost 2%? Well, this is where the cheese comes in. Despite Everfrost getting buffed in 11.4 and you being able to use this mythic of course, the dilemma is that your big counters can also use this mythic and put it to better use. So prime example would be Kassadin. You also don't have much survivability these days. You're a lot squishier without Rod of Ages, which copped an Alt F4, so against all the damage in the game right now, likelihood is you are going to hit the deck hard. With Strikebreaker and Black Cleaver buff too, it makes it easier for fighters to stick to you, even if you do have Rylai's Crystal Scepter. So yeah, just a tough patch generally for ASOL, but you can still win of course, you're just more death prone. Now like the Soul guys, this next champion didn't get an 11.5 buff or nerf, but like ZIGGS, if you take this amphibian to the bot lane as a carry, you can lick your way to W's. So this champion guys is Tahm of course, and the Toad is back to his riveting ways when SENNA is supporting him. This synergy is nuts, and you may have even seen this in Pro Play recently. The SENNA will opt for the fasting SENNA playstyle where she plays around her myth threads, while you, as the Kench, get all the CS and gold and get your turbo chem tank ASAP. So obviously you get more gold than you do as a support and are therefore more of an influence in a game. So hard carrying is a real possibility. So far this patch, this bot lane carry Kench is boasting a 56% win rate in Master and above, so you may have a 48% win rate overall, but that's because lots of time Kench mains are playing him top lane or support. Embrace the bot lane carry Kench guys. Now speaking of bot lane carries, this next champion guys in at number 7 is still performing well despite Riot throwing a couple of nerfs at her in 11.5. So for SERAPHINE, your notes from your allies deal less damage and your ultimate's cooldown increased at earlier ranks, but there's that word again, you are still strong. I mean, a 55% win rate as an AP carry bot lane doesn't lie, surely not. The Moonstaff combo is still impactful enough to help you carry games, and what's interesting is most high elo Seraphines are building Chemtech Putrefier afterwards, and remember this got buffed in 11.3. So your AD carry no longer has to worry about spending 800 gold on an Executioners because you have those grievous wounds, and there is still a ton of healing and sustaining the game in 11.5 to make this hella worth. So 11.5 Seraphine guys, despite the nerfs, still a good ass pick. Now this next champion might not have the spellcasting ability of Seraphine, but has tankiness and setup that can win games, and what's even better is that she got buffed this patch. So in 11.5 guys, Sejuani's win rate has climbed 2% to over 50% overall, thanks to Riot buffing your W's damage, so your clear is a little better, your ganks are more potent, and it's also useful in team fights, especially later in a game when you have a bunch of HP. Now you might cop it in the early game, but still, once you escape the first couple of levels, Sejuani is still a solid pick in that JG guys. Alright, we're now into the top 5, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for the cheese's last friendly reminder to check out the GameLeap website for exclusive challenge and tier content that is going to enable you to achieve your League of Legends goals in Season 11. Guides, courses, high elo analyses, we have got it, and it's all there just for you. Links down below. Now kicking off the top 5 guys, we have a champion similar to Sejuani in terms of clear speed, playstyle, and win rate. But unfortunately, this tanky jungler got jabbed this patch because Riot decided he was overperforming in lower levels of play. So for Rammus guys, yes, he has seen better patches, but you can still powerball your way to victories, just yeah, not as much. So your health per level is lower, meaning your max HP throughout a game is not as high as it was. Now why is this important? Well, you're easy to kill, and when you're trying to clear jungle camps, you are going to be more exploitable because you won't be as healthy. This means popular junglers like UDYR, Hecarim, Lee Sin's, Nidalee's, they can put a ton of pressure on you early, and it's hard to breathe. This has seen Ramram's win rate go down almost 2% so far guys, but still, once you get to that turbo chem tank spike, you can take over a game. Hang on a second, speaking of UDYR, here he is, and he is coming in at number 4 in our countdown guys, and Riot decided enough is enough and tried to put a stop to all of us opening the gates this patch. So your health per level is down slightly, meaning that yes, clearing camps you are going to be a little lower, but nowhere near as low as Rammus, and then your Phoenix stance's damage got nerfed too. So again, clearing camps, slower, fighting, weaker. This has resulted in a 2% decrease in win rate, but like Rammus, once you get your chem tank you can unleash, but not as much as before. And it seems you guys still aren't happy playing against UDYR because because he is still by far the most banned champion in the game. Now we enter the top 3, guys, and this champion is rarely banned, and he is another jungler, but thankfully this champ wasn't nerfed hard in 11.5, he was buffed hard, so 11.5 Trundle, guys, actually an underrated pick. Your Q's cooldown decreased to 3.5 seconds, and can you guys think how this would be useful? That's right, clearing camps and fighting. So more gold, more XP, more levels, more items, so you can spend more time cracking people over the head. Over a 2% increase in win rate tells the story here, guys, so 11.5 Trundle with a Frostfire Gauntlet or Turbo Chem Tank or even Divine Sunderer, the troll is back. Now the runner-up, guys, to the biggest win rate swinger of 11.5 is a champion who has dropped almost 4% in win rate. 4%! Now that amount isn't unprecedented, but it's still extremely high, and unfortunately AZIR mains, it is the Shuriman Emperor. And the cheese is still scratching his head at the change right put in 11.5, like it has to be one of the worst of all time. Reducing AZIR's W damage so that your soldiers deal less damage than your auto attacks in the early laning phase is absurd. What's even more absurd is the fact your win rate across the board is now just 43%. 43%! The lowest out of anyone. It's such a shame, because it's not like AZIR was tearing up solo queue. In fact, he only had like a 46-47% win rate before this patch, so a puzzling nerf here indeed, and certainly one that wasn't warranted. Now we're finishing this video off on the bright side of things, guys, because the champion whose win rate has changed the most this patch, well, it's gone up over 4%. Now the cheese said in our 11.5 patch video that Samira's legs were taken away, and they were, because you can no longer ease through your minions or teammates. Well, the only other way of being relevant, guys, is having enough damage in your kit so you don't have to rely on that mobility as much, and that's exactly what 11.5 has brought to the table. So for Samira, your AD per level has increased 25%, which is big, and your Q's damage is up at later levels, and you max this first. What's interesting about this is that before 11.5, when Riot gutted Samira, well, even then, when people considered her OP, she had a sub 50% win rate, and now it's actually above 50%, so it's funny how things work out. You Samira mates will have to let the cheese know in the comments how you feel about damage over mobility, as will the rest of you, in regards to any of the champions we have been through. Before leaving, guys, remember to hit that sub button and turn on all notifications. Thanks so much for watching, and until tomorrow's upload, peace!